Guys, Tom here, bringing you a sweet install video today on a product I'm pretty hyped about. What I'm sitting on right here is a set of Westin Pro E running boards, which is the auto folding style that you open your doors and they fold down for you. These running boards are something that have been around for a little bit, but these are a newer product of Westin's. So we're going to take you through this install. We're going to start with unboxing. All right, guys, so let's get this thing ripped open and see what we got. All right, guys, so we've unboxed and I've got all the parts here. This right here, this long plank, it's a full aluminum, completely coated. It's like a textured powder coat or a light bed liner style finish to it. So it's super rugged, it's got grip to it. It's not smooth and slippery, and it's really sturdy, but it's also very light, which is very nice, not to add extra weight to your vehicle unnecessarily. This is your bracket mount, and it got the motor on it right here that runs and lifts and lowers the boards. This is a very impressively constructed device. It's 100% machine built aluminum. It's very well made, very heavy duty. It's in the motor here, the motor looks super rugged, and it looks like it's just a spline drive that goes into this. It's got a nice quick two-prong connection that would plug right into your wiring harness, and they're engraved here with the front, rear, or depending on the side, right or left. So like this is front right. So that would be your passenger side front. First impressions of this, very, very pleased. We have this contraption right here. It's a module. This is the brains of the side steps. So this thing basically controls the lifting, the lowering, the triggering, lights. This does it all. So this just gets mounted underneath, and then you just got all the plugs here that go right into your wiring harness. These things are really well sealed on the inside. This definitely has a very high IP rating as far as moisture resistance. Next piece, wiring harness. It's got these really nice connectors. Everything is labeled. It comes in a really nice wire loom. Wires are color coded and correspond with directions. It comes with inline fuses to protect the system. This wiring harness looks really nice, and it looks like it's going to just be very easy to route and install in the vehicle. So we have nuts and bolts. We have lights. There's 4 of them. I have 3M, so they're really easy to apply. You don't have to drill holes. These are what light up the steps when they activate. It comes with a bunch of zip ties in this bag. Looks like we got extra 25 amp fuses. And right here, this is your manual switch override. It's basically just a rocker switch for on and off. You can mount this like under your dashboard or somewhere out of sight, because you're not going to really need to use it very often. A full override of the whole system, so that when you put it off, when you open the doors, it's not going to let it do anything. And then when you turn it on, then it's in the mode where it's working. So when you open the door, it's going to work. Last component right here, we have these magnetic modules. They go in the door jambs, and they tell you if the door is open or closed. What's really nice about this is you're not tapping into your vehicle's wiring. You're not going to be cutting factory wires that go to your doors, intercept them to basically tell this control module when it needs to work. 3M tape, so you just slap them up. Super nice that it keeps it completely, other than hooking to the battery, this is completely independent of your vehicle's wiring system, it's honestly my preferred approach, because when you integrate with the vehicle wiring, you integrate many more options for failure. One loose wiring connection and the whole thing doesn't work and you're chasing it for days. At least this keeps this separate, so if this thing stopped working, you could easily diagnose, is it the fuse? You could check the little handful of connections that are here. Overall, very impressed with the materials and the construction of all these pieces. I think they're very high quality. All right, guys, just going to take you through some of the tools you're going to need for this install. So first off, you're going to want to have some kind of a socket wrench. With that socket wrench, you're going to need a 13 millimeter socket. Then you're going to also need a 13 millimeter wrench. Then there's a 5 millimeter Allen wrench, or I have an Allen socket, tape measure, Sharpie, trim puller. All right, going through this wiring harness in the manual, there's a really nice wiring diagram to show you where everything basically goes. To start off, on the far end, you are going to have the larger bundle. This goes into the control module. Following this down, you're going to have your front right is yellow, your rear right is green. They both are going to have the small single plugs next to them for the lights. So you're going to have 2 motor plugs and 2 light plugs on your passenger side. You're then going to run this across the vehicle. The red is going to be your front left, and the blue is going to be your rear left. So this whole piece, you can see it actually has heat shield on it. Got the heat shield because it's going to be near your transmission and other exhaust and whatnot. So that's to protect your wiring. Then we have these last two whips. This is your battery whip. This is run underneath the truck up into your engine bay into your battery. You have just a dedicated red and black, which is your red is your positive and black's your negative. They both have inline 25 amp fuses. So you want to have these accessible just in case you ever blow a fuse. You can replace it with the two extras they give you. The last whip here, this goes into the vehicle, which you will run it up through the floorboard, and there are 4 wires. So your brown and your white are your door trigger wires. These are going to go to those magnetic modules that trigger when the doors open. The brown is the shorter one. This will be on the passenger side because that's the side it's coming up and through, and this white one is much longer, so it's got length to run over to your driver's side. This just goes right to your switch. You can run this to somewhere into your dashboard, and that's the wiring harness. So first step here, we're going to want to pull the trim for these door sills, which should come out relatively easy. They just have plastic clips that'll pop. You can take this piece off on the bottom of the seat as well. So this is the whole door sill piece that should come out. These are what the clips look like underneath, so make sure you're not missing any. Should have 9 total. So now we're going to pull off this B-pillar cover, which is held in by clips. And you're going to want to take this little cover off that says airbag. Just be very careful. Use a trim tool. Don't use a flathead screwdriver that's going to mar it up. Then you're going to want to take a 7mm socket. So make sure you retain that. Don't lose it. Now this whole thing should be able to come off. Obviously your seatbelt's going to be there. And then you're going to want to pull off the lower panel, which is also held in by clips. We're just going to get this separated and pulled back a little bit so it's out of the way. You're going to do this on both the passenger and the driver's side of the truck. So now with the hole we just drilled right here, we're going to take the whip on the wiring harness that has the brown and white wires coming out of it. You're going to feed these wires up through that hole by going underneath the truck, and then we'll pull it up through until you are at the black wire loom. I'm going to take one of the black twist ties that the wiring harness came tied up in, and I'm going to shove it in this hole so it's easy to find. Coming underneath the truck, you can see right here, you got the twist tie sticking out of here. This is right by your front cab mount. I'm going to start with the plug for the switch. See right here, got that pulled up through. So we have our white wire here. And now for our brown wire. So we've got all the wires pulled tight. Now we're going to get the loom pulled up and tucked through the hole. The white is going to go to your driver's side. We're going to route it underneath the carpet and over. And we are also going to route this black plug for the manual switch. We're just going to work our hand underneath the carpet. It's not really held down, so we're just going to get it up underneath the hump by the transmission. Coming over to the driver's side. Make sure you don't put the carpet back over top of your gas pedal, or you're going to have a real fun time when you start your truck up. So over here on the driver's side, we've got our white wire fished all the way over. And then our black wire, I stopped it a little higher up here because we'll put that switch hidden up in here somewhere. Coming inside of the B-pillar here on both sides, you're going to see a upper bolt for your lower mount for the seatbelt. You're going to want to get a 10mm socket wrench to fit in here. And you're going to loosen this up a decent amount, enough that you can slide a fork connector behind it. So going into your parts, you're going to want to grab one of the magnetic conductor module sets. So there should be 2 of those magnetic conduction modules, a bullet connector, and a fork. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that fork piece and you're going to slip that behind that bolt and retighten that down because that is your ground for that conductor. Now with the position sensors, you're going to want to get this bullet terminal right here. So this is going to be your front. With your front connector here, this will be your rear. So we're going to connect that wire into this terminal right here. So we got our white wire right here, kind of run through the door sill. We're then going to come over to this connection here. These two are going to seat together. Now that this is connected, we are going to now work on placing these sensors. So I'm over here on the driver's side, which is going to be the same steps for the passenger side. For placing these door sensors, they're going to be placed in a certain position right about here on the panel. Got a nice little 3M stick thing. Basically, you can run it right under this, pull this out, run it right here, just like this. And you're going to put it in a certain location on these door jambs right here. Measure down 4 inches from the center of this striker right here. Puts you right there, right on my mark. I recommend now prepping the surface. I'd give it a good clean. I'm going to peel the 3M stick tape off the back here. And we are going to put this 4 inches down right here. Now that that's done, we're going to pull the tape off of the back side of this kind of little wire encapsulation thing. I'm going to run it right down the middle. I don't want to cover up my tire and loading information. Then we should be able to push the weather sealing back on, and you're good to go. So we're going to repeat that step on the passenger side. And now we're going to go to the rear doors. So we're going to take a measurement that is 2 inches below the center line of this hinge here. It's going to be hard to see because I have a black truck. Then you want to grab the other end of the module, which should be right here. Pull our weather stripping back, put it underneath it. And reinstall your weather stripping. On the door side, we're going to put a little magnet right here. In the bag with those modules, you're going to have these little black magnets that look like just like this. They got 3M tape on the back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick it, find the center line of the hinge, and make a little mark. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this here, but I'm not going to peel the 3M tape yet. And then once we have the side steps working, we will make sure that each door connection is working, so that when the door is closed, the step should be staying up and not going down. Now on your driver door, you're going to do the same thing. Clean this side up. It's going to be out by the strike side or the latching side. You're going to go 4 inches from the center line of the strike right here, right about there, which will land right about here. I'm going to leave this here just magnetized to the door. I'm not going to peel and stick just yet until I've tested it and made sure it works. So if I have to fidget it and move it a little bit, I can. Once I get it where it works, I can just kind of like trace it, then pull it off, peel the tape, and then stick it on permanently. So do the same thing with your passenger side.
All right, guys, wiring is done. Now it is time to get to mounting the module and the steps. So first you can see these 2 bolts here that are threaded in. Chevy has threaded connection holes basically in the rocker panels. There's 2 at the front that I just pointed to, and then there's 2 in the rear, which is the front and the rear where the mount's going to go. The module gets mounted at the holes but are directly underneath the V-pillar. Now you're going to grab your module and we're going to slap it right up here, tighten those 2 bolts on it, and that's where it's going to sit. Now grab one of your first mounts. These are specifically labeled by side and front or rear, so make sure you get the right one. We're at the front passenger side, and then we're just gonna suck those bolts right in and get that thing mounted. Now don't tighten them all the way because you might have to adjust it slightly. Now to start running the wiring harness for the steps, you're going to grab that front right, which is the yellow label, and we're going to get that plugged into the 2-prong plug coming off of the motor. Now we're going to grab that bundle of 4 connectors that goes to the control module, get those all plugged in, and then we're going to want to get them tucked up above the module where they're safe and out of the way and can't get snagged on anything. Use those zip ties that are provided. Then we're grabbing that green labeled right rear, which is going to go to the rear motor plug mount on the passenger side.
All right, we got this whole side. The brackets are on, the module's on and plugged in. Got the rear bracket over here on and plugged in. So now we are going to run the wiring across the truck and put the other 2 mounts on over there. And then we run the wire up to the battery for power. So we're going to run it up and over the frame rail. I'm going to run it across this cross member here to the other side and zip tie it along the way. Note to run it across this cross member that supports the transmission, not the one for the torsion keys. It won't work on the other side as far as the wiring to the mounts. Got my rear mount on. Now we just got to make the last connection right here. And this one's got this nice big factory wire loom next to it to zip tie to, which makes it super easy. So the name of the game of mounting the lights is basically you want to kind of get in the middle of your door panel here. So, you know, I'm looking roughly here. And then coming over to the front door, somewhere in there. Obviously these are 3M, so we're going to want to get this surface really clean. So we're going to spray it, wipe her down. So these are basically just meant to stick right on the weld seam here and stick. All right, that's our front one and our rear one. And the wire just kind of gets tucked up and we'll zip tie it up behind and connect it into here. So we've got this coming under here. Got it zip tied here tight so it stays. I will probably come back with some Flex Seal tape and tape this up under here so it doesn't hang down at all. Now we run the cabling up to the battery. We're up in the engine bay and I'm going to be using my current tester. And I'm going to drop this down in here. Let it work its way down, and I'm gonna attach the wire to there, and then we're gonna pull it up and get it connected up here to the battery. Here's my current tester. So I'm just gonna tape these two bad boys to this and pull her up through. Take the cover off the battery right here. I've got a little extra stuff because I got a plow set up. Now I'm putting this on my solenoid for my plow. You obviously don't have a plow. I would connect it down here in the battery terminal. This just is a little more accessible if I need to get to the fuse, but it's just basically coming off a straight run from the battery. Also, don't judge my wiring mess in here right now. I have to clean this up because I had to do an emergency solenoid replacement mid-storm. It's a little messy right now. Okay, so then my positive's connected, which means I can throw the cover back on here. So on the Chevys, there is a ground terminal over here, as you can see I'm using. So this is what I'm gonna use for right now. Now we are 100% connected up. To show you how they work, I have the little magnet, I took it off the door. When you put it on to the receiver, it makes them retract. Basically what this switch does is, so when it's on and the magnet is not touching the receiver, it'll drop the steps. When you turn it off, it'll retract them so that they don't drop automatically. Turn it on, and then when I put the magnet, which is the same thing as the door closing, on the receiver, those retract. And you can see also when they extend out, the light turns on. When they retract back, the light turns off. Here I've been kind of messing around with the placement of the magnet, trying to make sure I get it right. So if it's off, obviously, like I'm gonna move it so it's not working. You're gonna shut the door, nothing's gonna happen. Move your magnet, try it again. See, it's not working again. So that means we gotta move the magnet a little bit. Turn it sideways. And there we go. We found the spot that works. So what we're gonna do now is peel and stick. We are ready to put the boards on. Guys, so one thing I noticed with these is you can see the running board, it's tight up on this end, but it's got kind of a gap on this end. And there's a reason for that. So if you come underneath, there's the rear side, and this is the same on both sides of the truck, is there's this bracket here for the rear cab mount. So what you're gonna need to do is snip a little bit of this metal off here at the end because this is not being able to go fully all the way back. I'm just gonna get my cutoff disc. I'm gonna let these out, snip a little bit off, and then see if it's enough. I'm gonna try to keep it as minimal as possible. She looks good. All right, so I've got these boards kind of situated left and right where I want them. So now it's time to get them tightened up. We're gonna tighten the two Allen wrench bolts on each side. And you definitely do not want to over tighten those. All right, guys, so this wraps up my video here on these Westin Pro E running boards. I must say I absolutely love these things. The quality is high and the functionality is also very thought out. You know, as far as quality, the material on them, you know, these steps, they're ribbed for good traction. They've got a good coating, powder coat on them. That's really durable. I tried a little scratch test and I really couldn't get it to do much. The retractable arms on these are like billet aluminum. They've got like stainless steel pins and stuff for the hinge points, and they're just very, very thick and durable brackets. The motors on them, super good spline drive, durable, big motor. Altogether, you know, it's made very, very well. That being said, I had one issue. So there's a little chuck that goes in the T-track on the bottom of these treads. I stripped one of them out because they're threaded, and you put two bolts that go through the bottom of the lifting arm and into the bottom of the chuck
to hold these treads on. Really, you shouldn't have an issue with these. I went a little overboard when I tried to tighten them. I was able to get in touch with them. They sent me a new product. They have them on the shelves, so I could easily swap out that little chuck. Just hand tighten them, you'll be fine. Functionality too, they're very well thought out. They have the manual switch, so you can actually shut these off. So for example, if you plow snow like I do, and in the winter, you're going to have that snow build up coming off the tires. It's a lot better to not have that snow getting crushed between the rocker panel and these things when they're trying to close. So what I'll probably do when I'm plowing, I'll probably just shut them off with that manual switch. I keep it under my dashboard. It also has 3M. You can mount it right to the dashboard. I chose just to bundle it up and keep it underneath. So basically when you shut it off, you can open the door and close it. They're going to do nothing but stay up in the up position. Also, timing is a thing that I think they really thought about. 3 seconds, they're starting to move. The fourth second, they're closed. And with that, I think they hit the sweet spot, because if you're getting something in the rear, the back seat of your truck, you're putting your kid in there, you shut the door, which starts the timer, and by the time you hear opening this door to get into the front seat, they haven't started retracting yet. So they're not going to do like a half like retract and then go back down when you open the second door. But it also isn't like you're waiting a really long time either. So I think they hit it right, like in the sweet spot. Appearance wise, I love these things. I think they look super good and sleek. I don't like a big clunky running board, and when they're up, it just kind of blends right in with your rocker panel. Like, I do have a wife, she's a co-signer on my truck. That being said, the co-signer usually demands that they can be able to get in the vehicle comfortably and not have to get a running start and a jump. Little Italian lady, that's how it goes. The lights are a nice factor too, and an added touch. They light up the boards really well. There's 2 lights on them, as you saw in the install. Lights up the ground too when it's really dark out. It's just super nice. The big three: appearance, functionality, and quality, definitely hits all those marks. Also, as far as install, this is a DIY channel. The whole point is to help people get the confidence they need or the instruction. That being said, I'd say the install was extremely reasonable. It wasn't over the top. Everything's mostly plug and play, other than having to stick a ring terminal on your battery. It's just a matter of putting things in, plugging them in, zip tying them up and out of the way, trying to keep it look clean. And there's obviously bolting. If you want a set of these for your own vehicle, go check out the link in the description, and also stay tuned for more videos on my channel like these. And also, stay tuned to other videos on my channel where we do other videos. Like if you like these guys, go check out the link in the description to the website so you can order yourself a set, and stay tuned for more videos on this channel like these. Thanks for watching.